You can't be that. You can't let what's happened change who you are. You're trying to raise those two kids and they're going to emulate you. O.J. Simpson's estate was worth $3 million when he died. His children received jewelry made from his ashes. But there was something else left behind, something his daughter finally revealed after his death. She spoke about the harassment, the control, and the fear that Nicole lived with. She also shared what O.J. told his kids about that night in 1994, the night two people were murdered. Her testimony didn't come in court. It came in private conversations that leaked to the press. What she said contradicts his innocence, and it haunts his legacy forever. O.J. Simpson was born on July 9, 1947, in one of San Francisco's toughest housing projects, a place where violence and poverty were just part of daily life. His father, Jimmy, worked as a hospital porter, but lived with a secret that eventually tore the family apart. When O.J. was only 5, Jimmy left them. Years later, it came out that he was a closeted gay man who died of AIDS in 1986. O.J.'s mother, Eunice, had to work long shifts at UCSF Medical Center, often for just $125 an hour. Their tiny apartment had no heat, broken windows covered with cardboard, and power outages that lasted for weeks. When O.J. was just 2, he developed rickets because the family couldn't afford milk. His legs were so bowed, the doctors thought he might never walk. But his mother didn't give up. She made leg braces using bent wire hangers and wrapped them in torn bed sheets. He wore them for 3 painful years. Other kids mocked him, called him names, and laughed at the way he walked. But by the time he turned 8, he had shocked everyone by running faster than the same boys who once laughed at him. At 13, he joined a gang called the Persian Warriors. They were deeply involved in the local drug scene. And O.J.'s initiation meant stealing something worth at least $100. He got arrested on March 15, 1961. After robbing a liquor store with a switchblade, he was caught just 3 blocks away. The arresting officer remembered O.J. laughing as if it was just a game. His mother managed to bail him out by pawning her wedding ring. He ended up doing community service by cleaning graffiti, including some that he had put there himself. He was later caught selling stolen car radios and sent to a juvenile detention center, a place overcrowded with more than 800 offenders. His cellmate died later in Vietnam. During that summer in 1962, something changed. Baseball legend Willie Mays came to speak to the kids. He told O.J., "You can steal bases instead of cars." Kid, that line stuck with him. Mays even signed a ball with the words, "Run toward your dreams." O.J. kept that ball for 35 years before selling it to pay legal bills. In school, things weren't much better. His GPA was just 1.7. He skipped classes constantly, missed 127 out of 180 school days one year, and failed both English and math. His SAT score was only 690 out of 1,600. But on the football field, he was a different person. At City College of San Francisco, he rushed for 1,453 yards in only 9 games. In one unforgettable game, he ran for 367 yards and 5 touchdowns. Colleges started chasing him. USC's coach, John McKay, even came to his apartment and allegedly offered $10,000 to his mother. When he joined USC, he didn't even get to practice in the spring, yet dominated from his first game. He would throw up before every match, but then play like a star. In 1968, even with a badly sprained ankle, he ran for 64 yards to help beat UCLA. That year, he had 180 rushing yards, 23 touchdowns, and got 835 out of 1,050 first-place Heisman votes. No one had ever won by such a wide margin, but life off the field at USC was messy. He got into a fight at a nightclub in 1967 after someone made a racist comment. USC and the media kept it quiet. He lived in a luxury apartment paid for by boosters. He dated actresses, hung out with drug dealers, and fathered a child with a fellow student. The school allegedly paid $50,000 to hide it. His roommate later said O.J. kept a loaded gun in the apartment and had ties to illegal betting rings. His grades at USC were mostly fake. He didn't attend classes, but still got A's thanks to graduate students who did his work. He even hired people to take his exams, paying them $500 per test. One of his papers was written entirely by a grad student. His transcript was edited multiple times to keep him eligible to play. He never actually completed his degree, but still walked at graduation in 1969. He became the first overall pick in the NFL draft that year and signed a record-breaking contract worth $650,000. But he didn't want to play in Buffalo. He wanted to be in LA and held out for 32 days. The Bills owner had to offer him a car dealership and more perks to convince him. NFL officials had to step in just to settle the mess. He only agreed after they let him control all his marketing deals, which later made him millions. In his rookie season, he clashed with the coach and even refused to run certain plays. Once during a live broadcast, he said, "That play is stupid, coach." He only rushed for 697 yards that year and seriously thought about quitting. He even called his old college coach about switching to basketball. The 1970 season was worse. He rushed for just 488 yards, and the Bills had one of their worst seasons ever. Behind the scenes, O.J. was drinking heavily and falling apart. After a bad loss in December, he missed the team bus because he was passed out drunk. He once admitted drinking an entire bottle of whiskey every night just to cope. In one game, he showed up still drunk from the night before and had a shouting match with his coach. He nearly retired at 23. In 1971, during a preseason game, he tore a ligament in his knee, but told no one. Instead, he paid a private doctor for cortisone shots so he could keep playing. In one game, he ran for 156 yards while clearly limping. Afterward, his knee was so swollen he couldn't walk upstairs. That injury never healed properly and haunted him for the rest of his career. He later said he had over 200 cortisone shots between 1971 and 1979. Everything began to change when L. Saban took over as head coach in 1972, found out that O.J. was living alone, eating microwaved meals, and had no real support. Saban started taking him out for dinner, set up social outings, and even arranged double dates to help him feel less isolated. When O.J. wanted to leave the team, Saban arranged a private meeting with the team owner. They offered O.J. a 5-year, $2.5 million contract, including a no-trade clause. They even rebuilt the entire offense around him. In December 1973, something happened in football that had never been done before. O.J. Simpson, playing for the Buffalo Bills, ran for over 2,000 yards in just 14 games. No one had ever done that. He finished with 2,003 yards. And what made it even harder was the weather. On December 23rd, when the Bills played the Steelers, there was a blizzard so bad that fans couldn't even see across the field. The wind was blowing at 40 miles per hour. The temperature dropped to 12 degrees and snow. Drifts on the field were 3 feet deep. Coaches had to shovel snow between plays just to see the yard lines. Even in that chaos, O.J. ran for 157 yards on 28 carries. He averaged 143 yards per game that season, a number that still stands as one of the best in history. And he did it in a season that was 2 games shorter than today's. But his toughness wasn't just about snow and numbers. On October 14, 1973, against the Baltimore Colts, he took a brutal hit and dislocated his shoulder in the first quarter. Medical staff popped it back in, but later X-rays showed he also had a separated AC joint and torn ligaments. Still, he went back in. He ran 39 times for 168 yards and scored 2 touchdowns. Trainers kept packing his shoulder with ice and gave him 3 painkillers, Darvin, Butzaladin, and cortisone. On his last touchdown, he even used his injured arm to push a defender away. He later said he blacked out from the pain, but never stopped running. The team doctor called it the most courageous thing he had seen in 15 years. O.J. didn't miss a single practice after that and played the next game with a makeshift harness. Behind all that greatness, there were problems with the team. In November, O.J. found out the Bills had ordered regular cleats instead of the custom ones he asked for. He lost it. He threw his helmet at the wall, stormed into the coach's office, and said he wouldn't play the last 4 games if he didn't get what he needed. It wasn't just the cleats. He also wanted custom pads, specific tape, and a personal equipment guy. The general manager called him a prima, and they got into a shouting match in front of other players. The fight got so serious that the owner had to step in. Even though O.J. led the team to a 9-2-5 record and ended up on the cover of Time magazine, he quietly told reporters that he felt disrespected and unsupported by the team. That same year, while he was breaking records, a legal storm was quietly building. On September 8th, a hotel worker named Carmen Rodriguez sued him for $50,000. She said O.J. shoved her down a flight of stairs at the Plaza Hotel. After arguing about a $47 champagne charge, this happened at 2:30 in the morning on August 15th. She ended up in the ER with a sprained wrist and bruised ribs. Documents showed he had been drinking and had 2 women with him. His lawyers worked hard to keep it out of the papers because he had big endorsement deals with Hers and Wilson. In January 1974, the case was quietly settled. After that incredible season, O.J. shocked the league again, this time with money. On February 14, 1974, he sent a letter to the Bills demanding $1 million a year. He was making $150,000 at the time, so it was a massive raise. He also wanted a no-trade clause, personal use of the team's private jet, and $25,000 for every game he rushed over 100 yards. Talks broke down, and he held out for 67 days. He skipped training camp while teammates practiced in 95-degree heat. He even went on The Tonight Show and got paid $15,000 just to appear. Fans burned his jersey and season ticket sales dropped 23%. In the end, the team gave in and offered him $733,358 plus bonuses. He became the first player to make over $700,000 a year. The contract even said the team had to give him a personal masseuse for road games. From From 1974 to 1977, O.J. kept doing things that didn't seem possible. In 1975, he ran for 1,117 yards in just 14 games. Even though the Bills only won 2 games all season, the team was so bad that everyone knew he was going to run the ball, but no one could stop him. The quarterback barely threw for 1,300 yards that year, and no other running back on the team even reached 400 yards. O.J. scored 23 rushing touchdowns, nearly half of the team's total. He was carrying everything on his own. In 1978, the Bills traded him to the 49ers in a blockbuster deal. They got 5 draft picks, including 2 first. At first, it looked good. He rushed for 1,053 yards in his first season, but something was off. He showed up 25 pounds overweight after spending the offseason chasing movie roles and partying. He was so out of shape that he had trouble getting through practices. He told teammates he was memorizing movie scripts more than the playbook. They started calling him Juicebox Office behind his back. By the time he retired in 1979, O.J. had 11,236 rushing yards, which was amazing given that most of his teams were losing. His record, 2,003 yards in 1973, was done with one of the smallest offensive lines in the league. In 1976, he ran for 275 yards against Pittsburgh, and most of that came in the second half after the team was already losing badly. He later admitted he played the last 3 seasons with so much knee pain that he needed illegal cortisone shots before games. He never sat out, even though he was risking permanent damage. In November 1977, he tore multiple ligaments in his knee during a game against the Jets. Instead of stopping, he had doctors inject him with an experimental drug that hadn't even been fully tested. He went back in and ran for a 45-yard touchdown, dropping the fake limp he had been using. Later scans showed torn ACL, torn MCL, and a partially separated kneecap. Years later, he admitted he used that painkiller in 6 more games. Even though doctors warned him, the drug was later banned after studies showed it caused addiction in most users. After retiring, O.J. moved into broadcasting. NBC paid him $500,000 a year. Even though he had no experience, they hired him to compete with ABC's new broadcaster, Don Meredith. He looked confident on screen, but behind the scenes he struggled. He couldn't handle live TV and had to use a teleprompter for even basic lines. NBC also had to deal with his legal issues. In 1978, he had been charged with hitting a bartender who refused to serve him. NBC paid the bartender $15,000 to drop the charges. They kept worrying about O.J.'s unpredictable behavior, even though he kept smiling on camera. In 1974, he made his movie debut in The Klansman. He played a black man who takes revenge after being assaulted by racists. It was violent, raw, and controversial. O.J. had no acting training, but the director wanted him anyway. Theaters didn't want to show it, and it barely made back its budget. O.J. said he used memories of racism from his childhood to get through the role. In 1977, he played a slave catcher in Roots. The role involved a brutal scene where his character assaults another, and it shocked the nation. Over 3,000 people complained to ABC. O.J. cried after filming the scene and said the role left him emotionally broken. Still, he took the job willingly, because he believed it was important to show the horrors of slavery. The show was seen by 130 million people, and some viewers sent him death threats because his performance felt so real. In 1978, he starred in Capricorn 1, a thriller about a fake Mars landing. He broke his ankle during filming, but refused help so he could finish his scenes. He believed in conspiracy theories and often talked about them with co-stars. He even made the crew shoot 47 takes of one emotional scene, which pushed the budget over by $200,000. The movie did well at the box office, but critics said his acting was stiff, and after that, he got stuck in action roles. That same year, he starred in Goldie and the Boxer, a TV movie that was a surprise hit. It earned him a nomination at the People's Choice Awards. At the same time, he became the face of Hearst rental cars. His commercials, where he ran through airports jumping over suitcases, became iconic. He made $1.5 million a year just from those ads, more than his NFL salary. He even came up with the stunts himself and got mobbed by fans while filming. In 1980, George Lucas offered him a cameo in The Empire Strikes Back. The idea was for a stormtrooper to remove his helmet and reveal O.J.'s face, but O.J.'s agent asked for $500,000 for just 3 days of work. Lucas called that crazy and canceled the deal. Lucas even thought about creating a new character for O.J., who would join the rebels, but O.J. didn't want to wear a helmet and said he had to be visible in all scenes. That cost him millions in merchandise deals. From 1975 to 1994, O.J. made over 30 commercials for Hearst. The 1980 spot at LAX was so famous that the airport had to ask people not to copy it. His earnings from the campaign passed $5 million, and he helped Hearst grow from 35% to 42% of the rental market. He became the most recognizable black spokesperson in the country until Michael Jordan came along. But not every business worked. In 1985, he launched O.J Simpson Bronco footballs. They were supposed to be high quality, but they were so badly made the quarterbacks got injured. One player even sprained his wrist from a weird wobble. Stores pulled the product, and Simpson was sued for $500,000 for neglecting quality control. The case was settled quietly, and the business ended the next year. O.J Simpson first fell in love when he was still a teenager. He met Marguerite Whitley while they were both at Galileo High School in San Francisco. On June 24, 1967, when O.J. was just 19 years old and already chasing dreams of the NFL, they got married. Not long after, their daughter, Arnold, was born on January 4, 1968. Then their son, Jason, came along in April 1970. But nothing prepared them for what happened in August 1979. Their youngest child, Erin, who was just 23 months old, drowned in their pool on August 18. She had been underwater too long and was found unconscious. She passed away 8 days later at UCLA Medical Center. That same year, in March 1979, O.J. and Margaret's divorce was finalized. By then, O.J. had already met someone else, 18-year-old Nicole Brown. They met back in 1977 at a Beverly Hills nightclub where she worked as a waitress. That marked the end of his 12-year marriage. Years later, on New Year's Day in 1989, things took a terrifying turn. At 3:58 a.m., Nicole made a desperate 911 call from their Rockingham home. She told the dispatcher, "He's going to beat the out of me." When police arrived, they found her hiding outside in bushes, wearing just a bra and sweatpants. Her lip was split, her eye was black, and there were bruises shaped like a hand around her neck. O.J. had reportedly shouted that he didn't want her in his bed anymore and called her awful names before attacking her. Even with all that evidence, he only faced misdemeanor charges.